Our recording. Okay, let's talk about, let me share my screen first. Okay, can you guys see that? You see where it says lexical categories here, adjective?
Yes.
There you go. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, adjectives are words, and when you look at the definition, here is the key. A word that limits the meaning of a noun or a pronoun, that is the key. Now, in a few minutes, I'm also going to be talking about what's called determiners, right? So if I say the car, the also occurs before a noun, right? And we say that adjectives are connected to nouns also. But if I say the vintage car, right? I'm going to say that vintage affects the meaning of the car a lot more than the word the. In fact, I can say, I drove in car yesterday, or I drove, maybe I want to say I drove in the car or my car, but even if I don't use a determiner, we still know it's a car. So that would be one of the things you want to think about. So you can kind of compare adjectives to determiners. Both words are noun markers. However, adjectives limit the meaning of nouns or pronouns, and determiners do not. That would be one thing you can think of. Adjectives have only one form, which is used with singular and plural nouns. With the exception of this, that, these, and those, adjectives have no singular or plural form. Can you guys give me 3 examples of adjectives in English? Anybody? And I'll write them right here.
Beautiful.
Good. I'm so spoiled. I'm in my class, right? I'm hearing impaired, right? I'm in my 3110 class. Everybody has masks on. They're telling me stuff. I can't hear anything. You guys say one thing, I get it from the start. Okay, give me another one. And I just turn it up when I have trouble.
Cool.
There. Give me number 3.
Can't like just the color be an adjective? So like blue?
Good. Yes, exactly. So then I might say beautiful day. I might say cool afternoon. I might say blue stars are hotter than red stars or something if we're talking about astronomy. So in all these cases, you can see beautiful occurs before a noun. It limits the meaning of that noun. Cool occurs before afternoon, which is a noun. It limits the meaning of that noun. Blue occurs before stars and hence limits its meaning. So that's one thing to think about. Okay, let's talk about morphology. One good thing is if a word ends in ER or EST, it is an adjective, right? That's one way to look at it. Or you can have more or most plus the adjective, as in more studious or more intelligent. So it looks like in English, it looks like longer adjectives, they do not work well with ER or EST. So we don't say Jane is intelligenter than her friend. We're going to say Jane is more intelligent than her friend, right? Or we'll say that Jane is the most intelligent student of all. We'll say something like that. Now with shorter adjectives, surely we can say, if I say Nicole is taller than Elizabeth, we can certainly put taller there. If I say Elizabeth is the tallest of all students in the class or something, I could certainly do that. So that's one thing to think about morphologically. The EST and the ER, if you put them on the end of the word and it seems to work, it's an adjective. So think about it like that. All right, let's keep going. And then this stuff, I'm not even going to mess with this stuff. I'm just going to show it to you and move on. This stresses me out. Adjectives can take the following suffixes, right? You can see them right here. Okay, so can somebody give me some examples of any adjectives that end in, say, LESS? That might be an easy one, or LIKE. How about LY? And I said it, words that end in LY can sometimes be adjectives. I did say it. Somebody give me 3 examples. Can you think of adjectives that end with some of these suffixes?
Beautifully.
No, not an adjective.
Powerless.
Good.
And then wouldn't beautifully be an adverb?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it is. Beautiful is an adjective. Beautifully is an adverb. That's why I didn't put that one down. Okay, powerless. If I think of LY, I could think of this lovely day, right? You guys see that? It ends in LY. It occurs before a noun. That's an adjective. But Michael, it's an LY. It must be an adverb. Not necessarily. This is an adjective here. Give me one more. Somebody else.
Someone wrote in the chat, careless.
Good. Thank you. Right there. So we got 3 words here. I was thinking if you think of cautious, maybe IOUS is one, LESS, LY. I'll just give you one more. Child, like, right? And there we go. So those are just some examples. And believe it or not, it is possible to use adjectives with these endings right here. You see them. Now, here's the problem, right? Kind of take a mental note of this or take a picture of it on your phone if you want, but you don't need to memorize all this. You just need to know what adjectives are and recognize them in isolation. That's your main goal in this course. I mean, if I wanted to make it hard, I could give you like an essay and, explain, some morphological and syntactic clues that can help someone identify words as adjectives, give at least 5 sentences to support your explanation. Okay, now you got to go on and on and on. That would be a butt kicker, but I'm not going to do anything like that on a test. You just need to see cautious and think adjective. If you see childlike and think adjective, powerless, you think adjective, you're in the right direction. So you see the suffixes here. This is where it really gets confusing for children and adults learning English. Is there some overlap? There's overlap between some of the endings that create nouns with some of the endings that create adjectives. And even there's overlap when you go with you see the overlap here with adverbs, right? Words that end in ly can be adjectives or adverbs depending on how they're used. So it can be a little bit difficult to figure this out. Okay, let's look at the grammar, the syntax for a minute. So with adjectives, determiner plus adjective plus noun, this is a really easy way to identify them. The big house, notice how big occurs in the slot right after the determiner. You have the plus big plus house. Here's another clue to help you separate adjectives from determiners is determiners occupy a different slot in a noun phrase than adjectives do. Notice how it's awkward if you said the several students. It's a little bit strange to put the and then put several. So that's telling you that the and several, they're doing the same thing. These are what we call determiners, and we don't typically use 2 determiners in a row in a noun phrase. It just doesn't work very well. Now, if I said the anxious students, that's different. So now we see we have a determiner which occupies its own slot in the noun phrase. Then we have anxious, which is in the middle. And then we have the noun, which is the key to the noun phrase. So we have the anxious students there. Another one, we have linking verb plus adjective. It is possible, right? You can use a linking verb like is, and then put an adjective directly after that. You can also have an adverb plus an adjective. And if you want to get even more specific, they're called degree adverbs. Very tall. How tall? Very tall. So, and then I want you to distinguish between linking verbs and then what we call regular verbs. Right? Linking verbs are things like be, seem, appear, smell, feel, and I can't think of all of them right now, but a linking verb is a verb that kind of acts like the be verb. Now, regular verbs is everything else. I'll give you some examples. Eat, hit, smoke, cough, drive, and so on, right? So linking verbs, it is possible to use an adjective right after a linking verb. But after regular verbs, usually we don't use adjectives after regular verbs. So if I said she ran quick, we have to go back to the rule here because it's not, run is not a be verb. It's better to say she ran quickly. So adverbs occur more readily after regular verbs than their adjective counterparts. Something to think about. Okay, let's keep going. What else we have here? Okay, this is good. Okay, let's look at this for a minute. Okay, say the following words to yourself, thinking about the syntactic frame of each word. Try to picture the word as it would fit into a sentence. Are these words adjectives or adverbs? So you have costly, you see these, likely, daily, we have quarterly, we have northerly, right? So to help you with this, let me show you what I would do here is I'm going to give you some sentences here. So the caravan, it looks like I was reading in the news, we have a caravan of about 60,000 migrants. They crossed over from Guatemala coming up through Mexico, and they'll be approaching our border. So the caravan trekked in a northerly direction. So how about there? Okay, so here's my question. So just look at the data. I do this on the tests and quizzes all day long, right? So look at this word here. Northerly, as it's connected to the noun here, or we have northerly here, which there's no noun after it. It seems to be connected to the verb before it. So where did the caravan go? The caravan proceeded northerly. So which caravan, or no, which direction did the caravan trek, right? Which? So we're going to say they went in a northerly direction. So how does the word northerly change in sentence A versus sentence B? Can somebody tell me that?
Does it transition from an adjective to an adverb because it goes from describing a noun to describing a verb?
Beautiful. You should teach this class. Yes, yes, exactly. Yes. If I had $100, I'd give it to you right now. Notice how I'm speaking hypothetically using the simple past to talk about a present and possible condition. But if I would, right? You're right. So northerly is an adjective, and then northerly in the second one is actually an adverb. So the position, the syntax seems to have a big influence. So every single one of these words here, guess what? They can be both adjectives or they can be adverbs depending on the position. It's important. Notice how every single one of these words end in ly. Now think about this for a minute. Now you might be thinking in your mind about this. You know, how do you want to how do you want to look at this, right? So if you're in Las Vegas and you got $100 and you're at a table and you see some obscure word and you're betting on it and it ends in ly and they say, okay, you want to double down on this. Is this an adverb or an adjective? If I had no idea, I would put the 100 on it being an adverb. I would do that. If I had no idea what the word was and I couldn't really put it into a sentence to understand its context, remember that even Shakespeare only has a vocabulary of about 30,000 words. That's it. A lot of poets are kind of up there at about 30,000, but there's almost 1 million words in the English language, right? So you can throw just one after the other obscure words with ly. I have no idea what they mean, right? But if I'm betting that they are adverbs. I would bet on that. But I showed you those examples so you could see, Sandra, that not all words that end in ly are adverbs. That's what you want to get from this discussion right now. Okay, let's move on. Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about adverbs now. The main thing you want to remember, adjectives are connected to nouns. That's it. No more, no less. That's the main thing. Adverbs, I'm telling you, they are squirrely. They're all over the place in the sentences they occupy. The word order is very tough to pin these things down. They're very troublesome. They really are. They cause a lot of problems in speaking and writing, and it's really tough for children acquiring the language, adults learning it as a second language. Adverbs are very troublesome. Unfortunately, adverbs are what we call content words. They carry meaning. They're stress words. They are important words in the language. But what about degree adverbs, Michael? Do we really need them in writing? You got an argument on that, right? There are words like very and really and extremely and all those. In terms of writing, they don't do much. They don't add much to the descriptive nature of your writing, which is why many handbooks say avoid them. Avoid using, they may use the word intensifying adverbs. They may use the term degree adverbs. They may say don't use as many of those kinds of adverbs because they don't really do much for the sentence. If you say that it's hot outside, why do you have to say it's very hot? It's still hot. Maybe there's a more descriptive way to say it without putting very in front of the word. Think of it that way, okay? So let's, adverbs. Here's the problem. Adverbs, you do see the word add, right? And then you see the word verb. So at least you can know this. Adverbs modify verbs. You know that because verb is part of the word. So at least you can say that. It adds to the verb. That's exactly what it does. But then we have to look at this and then we have to look at that. So we got three things. So we have to say that the adverbs, they actually modify three words: verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. And that's why they have they have a more freer word order. They move around a lot. I mean, big time. That's what makes it more difficult. English, in many cases, it has a pretty strict word order language. The exception is adverbs. That's where we have a lot more freedom of where they go. You will see in a minute what I mean by that. Okay, let's keep going. So let's look at some examples. So adverbs may indicate, they can indicate a few things: manner, for example, hurriedly; place or direction. We can say, for example, outside, hurriedly. We can say time, which is quickly, and then frequency, which is seldom. So these are all examples of adverbs. Hurriedly is an adverb, outside is an adverb, inside, outside, quickly, and then seldom. So these are all examples of adverbs. Then, how about this? Can anybody think of, can you throw out some other examples? Let me give you this one. Out of these three examples, can somebody tell me which one is an adverb?
Number 2.
No. Ni que fuera fin del mundo.
Wouldn't it be the first one?
Yes. Why?
Because it's in reference to the actual verb, like it's too much or too big.
Okay, how about
It's
this?
like a
What
descriptor.
if I said it's too hot today? You see what I'm saying? I say it is too hot. Notice how too it modifies hot. Hot is an adjective, right? So then because it modifies an adjective, it's going to make this an adverb. Now, to here is a preposition, and then the TWO is actually a determiner. It's considered a numeral, which is
It's the
part
only
of
word that actually modifies
exact.
anything following it.
That's right, right. You can say that. You can say that, well, two, it occurs before a noun. I have two books, right? So we don't look at it really as limiting the meaning of anything, but it's a numeral or a number that occurs before a noun. But you're right that the adverb is actually modifying that. It's giving more important information. Well, I'm not really important. I say get rid of it really. It's one of those intensifiers, but it does modify the adjective there. So, okay, let's keep going here. What else do we want to say here? Okay, morphologically, the problem with adverbs is there's really one main affix that will help you to identify it, and that's the ly. And the only ones I can think of, I mean, I was scratching my brain here. You got maybe WARD, as in westward. They went westward. So westward, southward, northward. You can use those as adverbs. And then sometimes you might say to somebody, well, how are you doing? And the person goes, well, money-wise, I'm paying my bills. So if they say money-wise, or they put wise on the end of something, it's probably going to turn that into an adverb. Those are the only ones, I can kind of think of. So the main thing is there are not a lot of affixes that attach to words that make them adverbs. The one that is the most common by a long shot is the ly, and that's it. But then remember that ly doesn't automatically mean it's an adverb. It's a good chance it's an adverb if it has ly on it. And probably if it has ly, it might be able to be used in both situations. Maybe if it ends in ly, it could be both an adjective and an adverb. Okay, what else here? So that's the only thing. There's really not a lot I can say here. So notice there's just simply not a lot of affixes that attach to words that make them adverbs other than ly. So that's the good news, right? So it's not nearly as difficult to comprehend. Adjectives take many different kinds of suffixes, and the same thing with nouns. I mean, look at this. Don't even want to look at that for very long, right? And then, okay, let's go back. Okay, let's see what else we can say here about this. Okay, so let's look at morphologically. So it says the adjective plus ly. Okay, we have that. I don't want to beat a dead horse on that. Okay, syntactic frame. Here we go. So we have adverbs plus adjectives. Very common. Extremely hot. And then we have the adverb plus the verb or the verb phrase. For example, slowly ambled down the street or something. How about an adverb plus an adverb? Quite fast. So if you have two adverbs in a row, by the way, the first adverb is a degree adverb. And then the second one is a regular adverb. Like that, if you want to be even more technical. So how fast did they run? They were quite fast. How did they run? Fast. So quite's actually modifying. If we look at this, if I said, like this. So notice how I understand the relationship. I can ask different questions here. And the questions I ask can help me understand what's going on in the sentence. Who ran? Fast, right? This helps me identify the subject. What did the team do? This helps me understand the verb. How did the team run? This helps me understand the adverb. and then how fast did the team run? And this question helps me understand the degree adverb. So let's look at what I just did here. So the team members ran quite fast, right? Who ran fast? The team. So team is a noun, it's a subject of the sentence. What did the team do? The team members ran. They ran a cross country race, right? So ran is the verb. How did the team run? The team ran fast. So then we have fast helps us identify the adverb in the sentence. How did the team run? This helps us identify the degree adverb right there. So sometimes I look at different questions and things I can ask. It helps me understand what's going on in the sentence with all the different parts of speech there. Now, here's the problem with the word fast, right? I'll just give you one of 1,000 questions I'll get with my ESL students, right? So they'll say, if I say she is a quick runner, and then I say she ran quickly, right? And then my students are going to say she is a fast runner. They'll say that, and then they'll say she runs fastly. Do you see the logic in that? I mean, we don't say fastly, but do you see why someone would say that? Right? They certainly would, right? So I have to tell my students, I go, well, ly, it occurs at the ends of adjectives, but not all adjectives. It doesn't work all the time. It works in many cases. So we have to say, I have to say to the student, in this case, it's more standard to say, instead of she runs fastly, just say she runs fast. So fast is used as both an adjective and an adverb. And for some crazy reason, and I don't even know, I'm not a good historical linguist, I'm not going to lie to you, but the ly doesn't attach to that. It doesn't. But the ly does attach to many adjectives, but not that one. It doesn't. So think about things like that. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, this is what I was telling you a minute ago about the word order of these things. Okay, how about Isela Castellano? Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Yeah, can you go ahead and read these 3 sentences, beginning with the first one here?
The team member ran quite fast. Who
Oh, no,
ran? Oh, no,
no, wait a minute. I'm looking at, and maybe you're not seeing what I'm seeing.
I don't think so.
Okay, do you see where it says frequently I eat out?
No, it says the team member ran quite fast. Who ran fast? Subject.
Okay, wait a minute. Make sure I'm doing the right thing here. Hold on. Uh-oh. Sometimes I have to get out of Zoom. Something will happen that'll. And this is one of those times, I think. Okay, give me a quick second. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm going to get out of here and then pop right back, and it'll, sometimes my screen, the Zoom thing is not working right with the, okay, hold on. I'm going to end the task.
Oh, your mic's off, Professor.
Yeah, if you Control Alt Delete, you close Zoom, and then it'll automatically bring you back to the session. Okay. Can you see it now where it says,
Yes, I can see it now.
okay, good. Sorry about that. Can you go ahead and read there frequently?
Frequently, I eat out. I frequently eat out, and I eat out frequently.
Okay, now, Isela, I want you to put, no, actually, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be a Z, it'd be Isela, right? Not
Yes, exactly.
Isela. Yeah, okay, so it wouldn't be a voice consonant in Spanish, that's right. Okay, put frequently in the middle of the 2-part verb and see how that sounds.
I
So
don't know.
no, I want you to take frequently and put it in between eat and out, and let's hear that version. Try that.
I guess if I frequently eat out, or what do you? I
No,
don't
no.
think I'm getting it.
No, say I eat frequently out. How
I
does
eat
that
Oh,
sound?
I
frequently
eat frequently out.
Yeah, see that? See, so these three look good, right? So you can see how the adverb definitely has a word order. It can move around in the beginning, right after the subject, or at the end of the sentence, but you can't put it in the middle of what's called a phrasal verb. So for some reason, it's not good. Certain types of verbs, you don't want to separate them. And I think eat out is one of those. They call them inseparable phrasal verbs. Other verbs, you can separate them. You can separate them. It's not a problem. But with this one, it doesn't work. But my point is simply this. Adverbs can be used in many positions in the sentence. And the reason is because they modify different parts of the sentence. Like I said, adverbs can modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. Now let's take a look at the next example. Consider the following sentences. I work hard. I am a hard worker. What can we say about the lexical category of the word hard? Anybody, if you know what I'm trying to get at here. Think about these two sentences. Anybody wants to jump in here, right? You see how hard comes after the verb here, but in this sentence, it occurs before the noun, and there's even a determiner in front of it. You have a plus hard plus worker, right? Or you have the subject plus the verb plus hard at the end. So what can we say about the part of speech? Think about adjectives and adverbs as I put this question out. We'll put this sentence A here. Somebody said something in the chat, let me know. Go ahead.
I'm not sure because it seems like it can function as both an adjective or an adverb. Is there a category for that?
No, that's exactly what it is. Now let's expand on that. In which sentence does hard work as an adverb, and which one is it an adjective?
It's an adjective in B and an adverb in A, right?
Yes, exactly it. And you put that tag question at the end to show you have some doubt, but you don't have any doubt at all. You know exactly what you're talking about, right? So how do you know this?
Because work is functioning as a verb in A, so it's work hard, versus worker is functioning as a noun, so it's hard worker, so it's describing the noun.
Good. So then what you look at the first sentence, right? You say, well, how do I work? You can say I work hard. So we can see that hard is definitely modifying work, and it's what's called an adverb of manner. But if I say I am a hard worker, I say, well, what kind of worker am I? Then you say hard. So you can see hard is modifying the noun in the second sentence, and adverbs do not modify nouns. They just don't. They don't, period. They do not. So then depending on what it modifies, hard is changing from an adverb to an adjective. And what do you think we can say about all these words here?
I'm going to make the academic guess that they also can all function as both.
That's it. They can function as both adjectives and adverbs depending on how they're used. Yes, exactly it. Okay, let's move ahead. We got to get into function words here. Okay, let's get into the next part here. So I think we're getting on the, and remember that I tend to get sometimes a little more technical than what you need. The main thing here, before you have a heart attack, anybody, is you just need to be able to recognize words as being nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and verbs. That's it. As long as you know that, you're in great shape. Now, if I say happy and you say noun, you got trouble. Happy is an adjective. If I say happiness and you say noun, we're speaking the same language, right? So you just have to make sure you can identify words in isolation according to the part of speech. That is the main thing. Okay, what else we need to do here? Okay, I think we're okay here. Okay, lexical categories continued. And I think I have a practice exercise at the end here. Okay, we do. Okay, I'm only going to talk about function words today. I'm not going to get into derivational and flexional morphemes. That's going to be next class. I may get a little behind on the, remember that I'm going to post the tests online anyway. And one of the days, if I get a little behind, we can get caught up. Okay, so far, right? Follow me. We've talked about content words. I define them as being words which carry meaning and words which are stressed when we speak. They are nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and verbs. These are all called content words. Now, let's talk about function words. Function words carry very little or no meaning within a sentence. They are unstressed words, right? And the examples we're going to talk about are determiners, auxiliary verbs, and prepositions. Those are the three types of function words that you guys want to make sure you know. How about Jose? Can you unmute for a minute, Jose Fausto?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to read these sentences first without putting anything in the blanks. And then the second time, I want to see if you can kind of guess as to what words go in those blanks. All right, go ahead.
So the first one is it's gonna be plane leaving 8:30 p.m.
Keep going.
Larry passed test score 93%.
Good.
Movie shown last week at library. A driver's injured car pile yesterday. Countries participate Olympic Games every 4 years.
There you go. Now, what you just did, Jose, I get the meaning here, right? I get it. So I don't think there's really any loss of meaning with the words that are not mentioned. Now, Jose, go ahead, see if you can fill in the blanks here.
Let me see. The first word for the first sentence, I'll say a plane.
Okay.
Or the plane. Then I'll say the plane blank is leaving at 8:30 p.m.
Okay, so you could say is. I was thinking the plane will be leaving, but is leaving the same thing. Keep going.
Larry passed the test with a score of 93%.
Look at that. You got your prepositions and your determiners. Keep going.
The movie was shown last week in the library.
Exactly. Notice how you said was and not were. Even your subject verb agreement was good because you saw movie was a singular subject. Therefore, you use a singular verb and you even use the past tense form of the be verb because of last week. So there you go. And you're using passive. Keep it up.
The drivers are injured. Let's see. Are injured. Let's see. The drivers are injured from the car pile yesterday.
But you see, yesterday, what is that going to do to the verb? Instead of are injured yesterday, you're going to say what?
Were injured.
Good. So the drivers were injured maybe in a car pileup yesterday. And which is a stupid cajon pass. Every day there's a car pileup. What a bunch of jackballs out there. They can't drive worth a, it's ridiculous. Don't even live in the high desert like me, believe me. Okay, go to the next one. Read the last one.
The countries participate in the Olympic Games every 4 years.
There you go. So the question here is, how are the missing words different from the words included, right? If you just go back to the definition I already gave you about function words, they carry very little or no meaning in the sentence. They are unstressed words. This is what I try to get my native speakers to understand. They look at a sentence, they'll say, the plane will be leaving at 8:30 p.m. They're putting equal stress on everything. I say, no. I say, that's not sentence rhythm. That's not English. The plane will be leaving at 8:30 p.m. So we have to put more stress on the content words, less stress on the function words. Okay, so let's keep on with this. Okay, what do we have here? clear this. Can we keep going? Okay, let's talk about the first type. Remember that there's 3 types of function words: determiners, prepositions, and auxiliary verbs. So let's talk about determiners. They precede nouns or adjective plus nouns. Examples: a, the, many, all, my, her, and are. These are all examples of determiners. Now, remember what I said a minute ago. Determiners, they really don't seem to limit the meaning of the noun that they occur before. Adjectives, on the other hand, they greatly limit the meaning of the noun that they modify. So that's a really big difference, because you're going to see the word many and you're going to call that an adjective. And I'm going to say, no, that's actually a determiner. How do you know that? If I say, well, many difficult textbooks are being distributed to the class. Notice how many is in a different spot than difficult. So many occupies the determiner slot and difficult occupies the adjectival slot. So here's another one: syntactic frame, determiner plus adjective plus noun. How about the bright light? How about some coffee? Some is actually determiner. Even the word John is a noun. Now, in this case, it's a possessive noun, and possessive nouns and possessive adjectives are actually considered determiners. Okay, auxiliary verbs. Words which refer to actions or processes. They indicate tense and aspect. Examples: many, can, do, and be. Now, this is a difficult, now hopefully not too difficult to understand. Okay, we have what's called a verb string, right? Let me tell you what a verb string is. A verb string is when you have 2 or more verbs together in a sentence. We call that a verb string. I'll give you an example. Will, have, finished. That would be considered a verb string. Or if I said is broken, that's also considered. If I said was discussing or something. Now, here's why I mention this. Okay, if you have a verb string and you're not sure what's auxiliary or what's main verb, right? And think of auxiliary verb, if this helps you, you may have heard the term helping verb, right? So here's the trick. If you have a verb string, the first verb in that verb string, that is the auxiliary verb. That's the helping verb. You could probably look at 2 here. Will and then have. Both of these seem to be helping the main verb here. If I said, I will have finished the lecture by 3:30, I will have finished the lecture by 3:30, I'm using what's called future perfect verb tense to talk about an action that's happening beyond the future, but before some other time in the future. So I will have finished the lecture by 3:30 means there's 2 different actions in the future, and the one action occurs before the other. So that's what you want to remember. Auxiliary verbs, typically, they will occur in a verb string, and typically it is the first verb in the verb string. That is the auxiliary verb. That's a really easy way to remember it. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, let's keep going. Let's see if we can see some examples here. Okay, how about syntactic frame? You have a noun phrase plus auxiliary plus verb phrase. So you have the man, then you have the first verb in the verb string, should, and then you have leave. So should is considered the auxiliary. They call these modal auxiliary verbs or modals. Just know it's an auxiliary verb in this class. Another one, the auxiliary plus the noun phrase plus the verb phrase. So if you have a question, notice how there's 2 parts to the verb, can and then go. So can Mary go to the movies? We say that can because it's the first verb in the verb string. It is the auxiliary verb, and go is the verb or the main verb. Another one, auxiliary verbs typically occur right before not. The Cowboys will not beat the Packers except this year. Maybe so. Yeah, what am I saying? Forget it. They will beat the Packers. But if I put the word not in there, right? So we have will. Notice how we have two verbs in here. We have will and we have beat. Not is considered an adverb, right? Why is that? Because it's modifying the verb in this sentence. So you have the Cowboys will not beat the Packers. So will is the auxiliary verb, not is an adverb, and beat is the main verb there. So that's how you spot auxiliary verbs. Okay, prepositions. They appear before a noun phrase to show a relationship between that object and some other word in the sentence. That is the best. I mean, it's really hard to explain prepositions. I mean, I'm hurting to try to explain them. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like teaching prepositions. The ESL teachers who teach the lower levels, boy, good for you. If you work with the basic, teaching prepositions, really, really tough. Now, like I told you guys, I told you this before, that we had an elementary school teacher. She came up with a really clever way to help her students understand the spatial nature of prepositions. So she said, crazy as it sounds, a preposition is anything you can do to a cloud. Wow. You can go through the cloud. You can go around it, right? You can be below it, above it, next to it. You can be at it. You can be in it. What about because of, Michael? Well, that's getting harder. Because of is a preposition. You might see because of the cloud, it rained a lot. I guess you could do it that way. But in just a silly basic sense, a preposition is something you can do to a cloud. If that helps you remember, that's fine. If it doesn't, just reject everything I just said. But some people, they say, hey, that makes it easier to remember what prepositions are and how they function. So a preposition is anything you can do to a cloud. Remember that. Okay, let's look at some examples. It says syntactic frame. You have a preposition plus a noun phrase. That's a very common way to do it. We have, notice how we have with, and then we have the noun phrase right after that. We have the next plus preposition plus a noun phrase. So we have next, and then we have to, and then we have the noun phrase right after that. So that's something to think about there. Okay, now let's take a look at everything at a glance now. Examples of function words. So let's look at determiners. So we can take determiners and break them up into subgroups. You don't need to know the names of any of these subgroups. You just need to know that any of these words you see here, I just want you to know that they are determiners. And that's it. But you can break them into articles, possessive nouns, demonstrative pronouns, numbers, possessive pronouns, and quantifiers. These are all examples of determiners. In every single case, they occur before nouns, so they're noun markers, but they do not limit the meaning of the nouns like adjectives do. That's what you want to know there. These are all determiners. So then, here are some examples of prepositions, and I'm going to say it's a short list. We can see them beginning here, beginning with about and ending with without. These are all examples of prepositions right here. Now, the problem with my ESL students is this. This is the problem they will have. Let me show you a common problem with my students. They'll say because of. Okay, you see where it says, because of it rained, the soccer game was canceled. So what's the problem that the student is having here? Can anybody diagnose this? Why can I not say because of it rained, then the soccer game was canceled. Remember what we said a minute ago. We said prepositions plus noun phrases. Keep that phrase structure rule in mind there. So what's the problem with because of it rained?
The student seems to think that they need to add the word of with because, but you could just put because it rained. And that-
Yes, but remember that because of is a preposition, right? But prepositions cannot introduce subjects and verbs. They only introduce noun phrases. A phrase is not a clause. A clause consists of a subject and a verb. So if the student wants to say because of, they have to change it to because of the rain. Because of the rain, the soccer game was canceled, or like the student just said, you get rid of and you use what's called a subordinating conjunction and say because it rained, the soccer game was canceled. If you diagnose this problem, the student doesn't understand the difference because of, and then what's called because. You have a preposition versus a subordinating conjunction. The student doesn't know the difference between those. So that would be kind of an issue right there. Okay, let's keep going. Let me close this out. Remember that I've been teaching, ESL since 1994. I sometimes you may hear me even speak like my ESL students. I might say, did you buy book yesterday instead of a book? Sometimes I leave out my determiners because my ESL students never use them anyway. So I've kind of taken on some of the habits of my students. Okay, let's keep going here. So we have auxiliary verbs. Here's a list here. Have, has, had. You see the whole list here. Remember that auxiliary verbs, they must occur in a verb string with another verb. If you get that idea into your mind, you won't confuse auxiliary verbs from main verbs. I think that's good there. Okay, a couple of other things. This I'm not going to worry about right now. Do it for homework. I think the answer keys are at the end of either morphology or syntax. You can see that. And I just want to look at one more thing today and we'll be done. Okay, so it says, the following words are spelled the same but pronounced differently. And you want to hear this? I got a few people probably already asleep, snoring away, right? How about this one? This is a test question, so wake up. If you want to get this test question correctly, it's probably almost exact. So it says, the following word pairs are spelled the same but pronounced differently. Use, close, excuse, abuse, diffuse. Use, close, excuse, abuse, diffuse. How does the difference in pronunciation affect the lexical category of the word? So how about this? If I say my book has many uses, or in the second column, I use my linguistics book every day. So what's the difference?
You use the S in the first column, uses, and then use. So it'd be the Z sound.
And then we got to go to this question though.
Would it be like the assimilation?
No, that's phonology. We're now in morphology. We're looking at what's called, let me reframe it. How does
Is it the placement of the sound?
Well, how does a difference in pronunciation affect the part of speech of the word, which is
I feel like if you say like I use the phone, that's a verb, versus my book has many uses, that would be like a noun or an adverb.
good. Yeah, exactly it. You just hit the nail on the head. So use, close, excuse, abuse, diffuse versus use, close, excuse. So you have nouns over here. These are verbs over here. So what I'm saying is it's not always just affixes which can affect the lexical category of a word, but sometimes it's the pronunciation. Have you guys noticed if I said the graduate student graduated, How about graduate is a noun, graduate is a verb? What's going on with that? How about associate is a noun, associate is a verb? The sales associate associated with his client or something. How about this? Conduct, conduct. The professor's conduct was unbecoming of a faculty member. Or the professor conducted the class with dignity. You think about that. Even word stress, desert, dessert. So conduct is a noun, conduct is a verb. Desert is a noun, dessert is a verb. So it might be word stress, it might be a voice versus a voiceless sound affecting the word, or some other type of pronunciation. So pronunciation, in addition to affixes, can also affect the lexical category of a word, believe it or not. I mean, you guys know all these. Well, you don't necessarily know everything that I'm saying here, but you do all this stuff. You speak perfectly. You guys are all native speakers, as far as I can tell. There might be some non-native speakers in here who learned English as an adult, but and those people, believe it or not, this is, I'm telling you the fact right here, that the non-native speakers who take this course, who learned English as either a teenager or an adult, they get higher scores than the native speakers who take this class. Think about that. And the reason is people who learned English as a teenager or as an adult, they're much more aware of the whole process of acquiring the language, beginning with phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, and so on. So they know more about what's going on than the native speakers in this course, because you guys, you've just been using the language since you were born, but you're not as conscious as a second language learner is of the language. And I think that's it. I think let's just stop there. Let me stop happening. Trying to stop. What's going on here? Oh, it's not working. Okay, I'll stop it in a minute. All right, that's it for today. Next class. So now we've covered the parts of speech. I had to hammer this a couple of classes to get this into your head, to kind of get you somewhat comfortable with it. Now, next class, we're going to get into derivational and inflectional morphemes and all of those kinds of things, and what's called isolating morphemes. And eventually we'll get into doing word diagrams of words and stuff and all of that. That's kind of where we're going. All right.
See you next time, Professor. Thank you.
All right. All right. Everybody have a good weekend.
You too.
Have a good day.
All right. Tenga un buen fin de semana. Que le vaya bien. Nos vemos.
Igualmente.
Hasta la semana que viene.
Sí.
There you go.
Professor,
Yes.
my internet was going, would this be